So anyway, sup nerds? I am your girl Kitty, and thank you for joining me here today to celebrate the 35th anniversary of the Metroid series. As part of the lead up to the release of Metroid Prime, or not Metroid Prime, Metroid Dread in October, I am going to be playing through all of the 2D Metroid games. And hopefully introducing at least a couple people to the series for the first time. Before we get started, I'm going to ask everyone, I'm going to be talking about the series as a whole and kind of, game development stuff, whatnot. Otherwise, I'm going to definitely treat this as though everyone has not played it, so if I could please get anyone who's familiar, please no spoilers in chat. But I'm trying to do all of this through as official means as possible, so for our first title, I'm actually playing this on the NES Classic, using the old school 2-button controller. So, let's go ahead and get going. Sit here on the title screen for a second, just soak in that wonderful ambiance. There's also a little text scroll I want to show everybody. Emergency order. Defeat the Metroid of the planet Zebeth and destroy the Mother Brain, the Mechanical Life Vein. Galaxy Federation Police M510. What the hell does that mean? Well, I will get into that in a second. But, part of my intent with this series is I want to try and demonstrate why Metroid was so revolutionary and groundbreaking and interesting, which is kind of hard to do with a really old game. So for the next couple minutes, I am going to pretend that it's 1987, and the only video game I have ever played is Super Mario Brothers. Here we go. Okay, so little robot person, I can jump. Sweet, I've got a gun. Okay, so we run to the right. Got some bird things. Got whatever this is. Can I shoot it? Oh, it opens. Got some more little things. Run in. Oh, hey, I can shoot up. Can't shoot those guys. I was not expecting to die within the first 30 seconds. Man, this robot's really fragile, huh? Okay, try that again. Run to the right. Okay, what? Chat, help, I'm stuck. What do I do? This robot person can't crawl. Anybody? Help! Nope, I don't have any baller. Nope, I don't appear to be able to tunnel through the earth. I am a robot person, not a mole person. That's the wall nicely. Hey, wall, can you open up? Nope, not working. I I am gonna sit here and pretend to be dumb until one of you guys gives me the right answer. Go let... Kino, what are you talking about? This is a video game, you can only go right. You can't go... Wait, what? What? We can go left? Seriously, yeah, I'm pretending to be dumb, but this really was a revolutionary concept back then. Like, the original Mario Brothers was forced ratchet scrolling. There was a couple of platformers like Mighty Bomb Jack, Ghosts and Goblins, where you could freely go left and right, but the whole game made you go to the right anyway. So yeah, almost immediately, this game throws in a major obstacle to anyone who's just playing a platformer like you. Will tell them, no, that's not going to work. You guys are going to have to learn how to explore. So if we actually keep going left, past our starting point, we've got this little block right here, and... Alright, we just got our first power-up. That was the Marumari, alternately known as the Morph Ball, and it lets us do this. Hit down on the D-pad, we turn into a little ball. We now have the ability to fit in the narrow spaces. This is Samus's most famous ability. Every game she's ever been in, including Smash Brothers, features the Morph Ball. Now, as part 2 of demonstration, I'm going to let myself get killed here on purpose. Alright, so the NES version of this does not have battery saves, because this is back when you actually had to put a little battery in the cartridge in order to have saves, and they'd only invented that a couple months ago with the original Zelda. So we've got a password. Every time you start the game, punch this in, it'll take you where you left off. That was not a fun point in time. When you had to do passwords, you had to sit and carefully copy it down, and of course, this one's mostly zeros, but you got the stupid copycat characters like the 0 and the O and the 1s and the lowercase l's, so it was not uncommon to completely copy the password down wrong, and then it's alright, you're out of luck. May restart, and... Oh hey, we still got the Morph Ball. Seriously, that was a revolutionary concept at the time too. Permanent power-ups. Like, basic general history of power-ups, like... I think Pac-Man is accepted as this first game where you had a power-up with the power pellets. And of course that only lasted for a couple seconds. You had stuff like the Fire Flower in Mario, where you kept that until you got hit or until you died. So yeah, every piece of gear we pick up we are going to permanently have, and there's nothing that can take it away from us. Now hang on the screen for a second. Now that we know that we need to actually explore and not just blindly go right, you'll notice there is a critter moving around down there just as a kind of a clue that this is somewhere we need to go. However, we currently don't have the means of destroying these blocks, so we're going to have to keep going. And you'll note right now, we are incredibly fragile. Don't have a lot of health. We've got this little stupid pea shooter. It's actually still interesting. I haven't played the original, so I wasn't sure if you'd have to put the passcode in for it. Yep, when you die, it'll populate the passcode in for you, but if you are turn the power off and are starting from scratch, yeah, you gotta stick it in. Alright, so now we're in this big kind of boring vertical shaft. This was actually revolutionary at the time too, having actual horizontal and vertical scrolling. The NES couldn't actually really do that by default. They actually had to insert basically special chips to give the NES more memory to actually do this. Which is why a lot of the the original single-screen games are either... Yeah, they're very... Bleh. Wasn't Kid Icarus a little earlier, or were those pretty concurrent? They would have been in development around the same time. In Japan, Metroid came out first. Over here, it was reversed. So just a little basic data on this. So Metroid came out on the Famicom Disk System in August 1986 in Japan. We got it a year later on a regular NES cart. Yeah, Kid Icarus, which shares a lot of similarities with this, came out a couple months later in Japan. It was earlier in America. Over in Japan, the original Legend of Zelda actually came out 4 months before this. Yeah, this and Zelda are honestly pretty similar. I did a little digging. I couldn't find out for sure, but like these were developed at the same time, just different teams. Like they had to have interacted with each other. So it's extremely likely that the original Zelda and the original Metroid influenced each other. How, I can't really say. Nintendo's always been a super secretive company. Like, there's interviews here and there, but trying to get actual info on game development is hard to do. Alright, so what I got right there is a missile. I press select to toggle in and out of this. Games that were on this system do not require battery saves for that reason. Yeah, ironically, this actually did have saves when it was on the disk system, because... Yeah, the way cartridges worked at this point is that they were basically, they were ROM, read-only memory, they were encoded microchips. Basically, they were created at the factory, and then you couldn't change them. And we had not come up with solid-state memory at that point, so to actually have a save game, what they did is they came up with the idea of putting a very small RAM chip in there. That's random access memory, the stuff that's in your computer. RAM is very fast, it can store information. The thing is, it only stores information while there's power going to it. As soon as you cut the power, turn your computer off, whatever, all the information is stored in RAM disappears. So somebody had the bright idea of putting a little battery inside the cartridge, which that would keep the RAM alive while you weren't playing, and it would preserve your save data. Which trivia did I skip? I'm sorry. Anyway, I've got the missiles. I'm doing a little bit of backtracking, so I'll show you what with these. Alright, so this red door right here, I cannot open it with my regular beam. If I'd come up here first, there wouldn't be any way to get through here. But using the missiles, I'm able to open this. And this little statue has a new power-up for us. We just acquired the long beam. This basically does exactly what it sounds like. It makes our shot range a lot longer. These little tubes you can actually duck into and go through. Most of these, it's kind of for kicks and giggles, but that will actually be important later. And this weird statue right here, this is a Chozo statue. Did Metroid share composers with Zelda? No. Zelda was Koji Kondo. He's basically the main composer for the Mario series. This was Hip Tanaka, who we'll talk about in a minute. So yeah, that was a Chozo statue, and what the heck is a Chozo? Well, now's probably a good time to cover what the heck is happening in this game. So, general story overview. In the world of Metroid, there's currently a vast galactic federation. Exactly like Star Trek. We don't know much about them because there's not a lot of... Yeah, give me a second, Kino, I'll talk about the disc system. Yeah, we don't know much about the Federation, there's not a lot of lore about it, but basically, you know, vast interconnected network of planets, with trade and spaceships constantly zipping between them. Those ships immediately attracted attention from space pirates. We'll see more space pirates later, but they're both a banner and an actual species. Gonna be a whole species called space pirates. In order to deal with these pirates, the Federation established the Federation Police Bureau. However, because space was so big and vast they couldn't police all of it, they also established a system of bounty hunters to try to police the edges. So, just prior to the beginning of this game, space pirates attacked a Federation research vessel and seized an unknown species from a planet called SR-388. This species had been dubbed Metroids. From what the Federation could tell, Metroids are extremely dangerous. They both have the ability to basically latch on to creatures and absorb their life force. Also, they immediately will start multiplying if they're exposed to beta rays. Pause for a sec. So, stop the pirates from using Metroids for biological warfare. The Federation tracked them to their home base on the planet Zebes. They attacked it, they couldn't break through their fences. Kind of at a loss what to do. The Federation decided they were going to send in a lone bounty hunter. Bounty hunter by the name of Samus Aran, who's the greatest bounty hunter ever. She's able to do all sorts of things that are supposed to be impossible. We're here on Zebes right now. Our end goal is to kill the Space Pirates leader, a mechanical entity known as Mother Brain, and wipe out all the Metroids. You mean the Space Hunter, yes. So, right here, these little statues, these are Mother Brain's minions, Kraid and Ridley. The Mother Brain's base Turian is on the other side of this. In order to actually get through here, what we're going to have to do is track down Kraid and Ridley, shoot them with missiles until they stop moving, and that'll form a bridge. So our core gameplay loop, we are going to explore the planet Zebes, look for tools and abilities we need in order to actually progress, find those two, and then we're going to come back. So now that I've established what's going on, I'm going to head in the direction of our next major upgrade. Now at this point, the game is mostly non-linear. There's a couple different locations we could go to almost immediately, but there's a definite critical path to follow. So I mentioned our protagonist, Samus Aran. Who is she? Well, you might be familiar with Samus if you haven't played Metroid, just from everyone's favorite crossover game, Super Smash Bros. On the surface, a girl? Yes. Yeah, first off, Samus is in fact a woman. This is actually a spoiler. The manual and all, like, the guides and whatnot, exclusively will refer to it with Samus with male pronouns. We'll see why this is a spoiler at the very end of the game. For right now, sorry everybody, I am not going to misgender someone for 3 hours just to preserve a very, very old spoiler. So yeah, there's a lady inside of this mechanical suit and not a guy or a robot or anything like that. We need to go to the very top of this platform. So yeah, we don't really know much about Samus's other missions and whatnot that gained her reputation prior to this. But, yep, Samus is the most famous Federation bounty hunter. Her personality is kind of, she's the stoic badass. She doesn't talk in this game, however, like everybody else's favorite characters, Link and Mario, she does eventually have her own inner monologue. Heck, did I go the wrong way? She also trains a Pikachu. Yes, she and Pikachu are buddies in Super Smash Bros. Yeah, that was Brawl on the Wii that had the story mission. Samus is actually basically considered a myth in the Federation. In Metroid Prime 2, there's a log entry you can pick up that was made by the Space Marine station on the planet you're at. One of the Marines is telling the others about Samus, and the other person is like, yeah, some sort of bounty hunter and takes out space pirate bases by herself. What is she, Bigfoot? She is very tall. Yes, Samus is canonically like 6 feet. I think 6 feet 2 inches. We don't have proof she isn't Bigfoot. No, we don't. I suppose I've never seen Bigfoot without his suit on. But yeah, the history-wise, Samus unfortunately is a space orphan. She was born on a mining colony called K2L. The said colony was attacked by the space pirates. Her parents were killed. Ridley, the guy we mentioned earlier, is going to be one of the recurring villains. He actually did it himself, but he was distracted before he could kill her too. Very cheerful, I know. the destroyed colony was able to send out a distress signal. Stopping for a sec. This right here is an energy tank. So you saw our energy in the corner. It's actually recorded as a number. This energy tank we just picked up is another 100 units of energy. Without this, we would have capped out at 99. Right now, we are at 199. And with this, we are now way, way less fragile. It's kind of annoying, though. One of the really stupid things about this game is if you start a new session, even if you have a bunch of energy tanks, you will always start with 30 energy. So yeah, there's a couple of relatively easy areas where you can farm, but for the most part, yeah, start up a new session, you're going to have to go and farm enemies until you actually get up to a decent amount of health. So yeah, Samus Colony sent out a distress signal before the whole place was destroyed. That signal was intercepted by the Chozo. The Chozo are a race of sentient bird people, basically. They kind of take the role of being one of those benevolent precursor races. There's a couple different planets where they seeded with their technology and whatnot. Alright, this right here is the bombs. With this, when we are in Morph Ball form, hit the shoot button and we can plant a bomb. So this serves a couple different functions. One, this is actually a weapon. So we can actually use this to kill our friends, the Zemers, if we want to. Secondly, you'll note if I sit on top of it, the bombs don't hurt me, they'll actually push me up. We can use this to get into small passages. And if you're good with the timing, you can perform what's called the Morph Ball jump and actually push yourself upward even further. If you're really good at this, which I'm not, you can actually climb infinitely. And we don't have any right here, but this actually can be used to destroy blocks, which is going to be incredibly helpful in a little bit. There's So yeah, you'll note everything we've picked up, the missiles, the bombs, the morph ball, all of them are, I mean, they're useful combat upgrades, but they're also all tools. They're things we can use to explore. I'll talk about kind of series fundamentals in a little bit, but that right there, acquiring power-ups that are both tools and keys, is basically the hallmark of this entire series. Okay, so now that we've got the bombs, I'm going to pick up one other power-up on our way back. After that, we're actually going to have all of the basic tools we need to complete the game. There are, however, a whole bunch of other power-ups that will either make it a lot easier for us to get around, or will just make it a lot harder for us to die. Yeah, Back to the Chozo. So yeah, like all benevolent precursor races, as of this point in time, the Chozo have basically disappeared. The remnants are all either in hiding, or Metroid Prime 1 implies that they've basically transcended their physical forms. Like they've turned into beings of pure energy. Actually, 1 second, I wanted to go in... They became Force Ghosts. Yeah, pretty much. Alright, so you see that little guy floating around? That is a waiver, incidentally. At some point I'll introduce all the various enemies. That's a clue that there's actually something down there. So we can actually use our bombs right in that spot right there. And this lava is actually fake. Now, we will see a lot more of this later, but one thing this particular entry is infamous for is... since they've really just kind of come up with the idea of exploration like this, there is a whole bunch of spots in this game where you need to do something to proceed, but it's not obvious what it is. For example, bombing a random place in the floor and going through some fake lava. The power-up we're about to get is actually... I need more missiles, hang on. Power-up we're going to get is essential, but it is at least... it's located in 2 different places. If we didn't find it right here, there's another place we could get it. Come on. Need 5 missiles to open the door, I've only got 4. Don't make me farm. But yeah, there's lots of places where we need to do something very specific in order to advance, and it's not going to be obvious. I'll point those instances out when we find them. Come on. Just 1 missile. Just 1. So anyway, Samus's planet, yeah, her basically whole home is destroyed, and the remaining Chozo intercept a distress signal, land on planet K2L, and find Samus is the only survivor. Being a race of benevolent bird people, they take her back to their home planet, the planet Zibbies. You'll note that that's actually the planet we're currently on. Now, at the time, Zibbies was an incredibly dangerous environment, one that wasn't really suited for humans. So, in order to actually give Samus a fighting chance... Yes, thank you! Missile! They actually infused her with Chozo DNA, giving her some of their strength and durability. Get this real quick. Right, this right here is the Ice Beam. I'll show you what it does in a second. Work on this guy. There we go. So yeah, the Ice Beam, as the name suggests, is incredibly cold. So cold that it actually suspends physics anywhere it's in effect. So I shoot an enemy with the Ice Beam, it is frozen solid. This both makes things easier to kill, but while it's in effect, they also turn into platforms. They're frozen for a couple seconds, but while they're frozen, I can either avoid them or use them to get to higher places. And it's both a weapon and an incredibly useful tool that we're going to need to advance. Come on, let's see if I can get out of here. There we go. Back on planet Zibby's, Samus was infused with Chozo DNA, making her one of them, and they also used their extremely potent technology to give her the power suit. Which is actually this thing right here that we're using to shoot things. So, you'll note this corridor is pretty much identical to that other one. You can also bomb the floor right here. Wrong spot. I wasn't going. Okay. I am not going to go down here. This shaft is actually a trap. Down there, there's just a ton of enemies and a column of respawning blocks that you'd have to use to climb out of there. It's really annoying, and I'm not sure why it's even in the game. And I'm not going to go down there and demonstrate to you, so... Just kind of fair warning. Samus was trained in the warrior's arts by the Chozo. After that, she went and joined the Federation military for a couple of years. There's not really a lot of background detail about that. It's kind of covered in the game Other M. But really only as it pertains to a mentor figure that's introduced in that game. She leaves the Federation military, being kind of a stoic loner. It really wasn't for her. She chafed under the bureaucracy and whatnot. Went and became a bounty hunter. And that leads us up to the present point. Alright, here we go. Now that I've got the bombs, I can bomb this block and keep going. Wrong one. Yeah, you'll note all this story I'm talking about, aside from that weird cryptic text crawl, hasn't really been in the game at all. Kind of by design, we're back on the NES, where there's not a lot of room on cartridges. This game is like less than 100 kilobytes. So yeah, back then, text was taking up important space that they use for actual games, so all the actual story for this is in the manual. Back in the day, if you wanted to know anything about the game, you had to read the Dane manual. Alright, there's actually another secret in this room. Found by shooting through the ceiling. We're not actually supposed to be able to get this yet. And remember when games came with manuals? Yeah. Because you needed one back in the day. Now that we figured out tutorials and printing prices are so expensive, nobody bothers. Yeah, technically I'm not supposed to be able to get what's in here yet. In order to actually do so, I'm not going to waste a ton of time doing this if it doesn't work, but I need this guy to go up. There we go. Go. Nope. Come on. I need this guy to go up in the ceiling. Come on. Come on. Yeah, what's up here is completely optional, but it'll make our dang lives a lot easier, so... Nope, I didn't want to go up yet. I need our friend first. Come on. Okay, he's not going to cooperate. Oh well. We'll come back here later. So, the game plot's in the manual, but only some of the game part, only like the stuff with the Federation and the Metroids. Samus's history is not really touched upon in this game, or really any, up until we get into the 2000s area. So, all that juicy backstory I just rattled off, that's all supplementary materials. Samus's history was first covered actually in the Nintendo Power magazine. When Super Metroid came out, there was a comic that went with it. That was later expanded upon on the official Metroid manga in 2002. When I move this over to YouTube, I'll include a link to the manga if you want to read it. It's just on the Metroid wiki. It's been fan-translated. Oh, we got some more missiles. Thank you. Go to the ceiling. Let's see what else I want to cover. Okay, there's a way through this stupid little room if I can remember which block we have to bomb through. Alright, what I'm gonna do is backtrack real quick, reload the room, and then not kill that thing that was in there. And Kino, I promise I'll get back to the Famicom disk system. Haha. Okay, come on, brain. What am I forgetting here? I know there's a way through this room. Okay. Thank you, game. Okay. Just a secret passage I had to get through. Yeah, for a lot of these guys, it's much easier to just freeze them than actually try to kill them. Alright, so aside from that, our loop of this area is complete. I'm actually going to go back down to where we found that first missile and actually head to a different section of the game. I wish we could have successfully gotten the dang Varia suit, but we don't specifically need it. And I'm going to be right back real quick, guys. Alright, sorry about that. I'm back. So it depends on which game, but most of the games in the series will actually will give you different endings based on how quickly you play through the game, and also what percentages of the items you get. Because this is a casual playthrough and I'm largely trying to act as tour guide, I'm probably not going to be able to get the best ending. For this one, I am going to try to get, if not all, at least most of the items. Just so you have an idea where everything is if you decide to play through this. For most of the other games, I should be able to get the best ending. Generally for items, you have to go really far out of your way to get everything, and I don't have perfect paths through all of them memorized. If I ever decide to come back and play through these again, that would probably be a fun thing to try and figure out. The one exception is going to be Super Metroid. If I am not able to both get the best ending and 100% of the items on that one, all of you are allowed to make fun of me. If I can't do that, I am officially too old. get over there and then I'll continue rambling. Are you guys enjoying my rambling about various Metroid-related topics, or is it too much? Okay, good. So yeah, past that, original missile is actually this elevator. We could have gone down here immediately. I chose not to, just because we would have got stuck pretty quick. Alright, so the area we're just in is called Brinstar. The manual says that means Rocky Zone. This right here is Norfair, the Fire Zone. Because we've gone actually deeper into the core of the planet, the terrain changes accordingly. We've now got fiery enemies and lava. Lava, of course, hurts if you jump in it. This path I'm taking over to the left is actually going to dead end pretty quickly, but there's going to be some missiles, so it's worth taking. Especially since right now we have very, very few missiles. So yeah, a little bit of history on this game. I don't really want to go into a full history of Nintendo. I could definitely do that, but not quite off the cuff. But this game in particular was developed by an internal Nintendo team called R&D1. That's R&D as in research and development. For most of Nintendo's existence after the NES, there's actually two internal development teams. There's R&D1, who did this. They're also mostly focused on hardware. They designed all the original arcade machines. Once the NES comes into play and they're largely doing software, a second team forms called EAD. EAD is the one everybody's heard of. It's headed by Shigeru Miyamoto. That's the team that made your Marios and your Zeldas and your Animal Crossings and most of the things that Nintendo is really known for. R&D1 is the weird Nintendo team. They're responsible for the Metroid series. They did Famicom Detective Club, did the Wario series, they did Rhythm Heaven, Tomodachi Life. So, Nintendo's design philosophy has always been that they're a toy company. Like, I don't mean that in a derogatory way, like, just kind of their design philosophy is games aren't just, like, disposable, entertainment. They should be fun, they should feel good to play. They should bring a smile to your face. Yeah, that was very much R&D1's kind of design philosophy. They wanted to come up with weird games, things people had never seen before. So the actual main developers for this game, the producer was Gunpei Yokoi. He's a long-term Nintendo employee. He came up with a bunch of early Nintendo gadgets. He's most famous as the co-creator of the Game Boy. I'm going to talk a lot more about him when we get to the second game, just because he has a whole bunch of interesting history that's not super pertinent right now. The directors were Satoru Okada and Masao Yamamoto. The producer, or the composer, was Hirokazu Hip Tanaka. The character designer was a guy named Hiroji Kiyotake, and then Yoshio Sakamoto is also just a character designer at this point, but he's going to be our most important person of the Metroid team. He's actually going to go on to be the director of basically all the future Metroid games, except the ones that are American produced, and he's still going to be the executive producer on that. So yeah, Yokai we'll talk about later. Satoru Okada, he was the other co-creator of the Game Boy. Yokoi created kind of like the external shell and kind of the design philosophy. He actually designed the internals. He also is responsible for the Game Boy Color and the Game Boy Advance. As far as games went, he directed Metroid. He also did Kick Icarus and Super Mario Land. After that, he's mostly hardware. If I get stuck. Okay, I need to be careful because I have taken a ton of damage. Probably gonna have to actually stop and farm for a minute. And yeah, it's actually kind of a pain to find out information about Nintendo employees. Like, mostly they've got some stuff that's been organized on the wiki pages, and all the primary sources are just really old interviews in game magazines. Aside from Okada, Masao Yamamoto was the... Yeah, basically all these guys were hardware and then kind of moved into software. But Yamamoto, he designed the he did the internals for the Game & Watch handhelds. If you guys aren't familiar with those, they're basically the very first LCD games, like those Tiger Electronics things from the early 90s. Game & Watch is honestly like an entire thing by itself. Yeah, just because of how many variants and whatnot there are. He also directed a couple of games. Most of his catalog is actually puzzle games. He did, I think, he didn't do Dr. Mario, but he did Yoshi's Cookie and Panel de Pon, which is kind of a tile match game that's actually never come out under that name in the US. The couple times we've gotten a Panel de Pon, it's been skinned as something else. Like, one of the few ones we got was Kirby's Avalanche on the SNES. Yeah, not a whole lot of information about him, unfortunately. Hiroji Kiyotake, the character designer. He was responsible for the design for Samus. He also created Wario. And along with that, he was the director for most of the early Wario Land games. Is it Pokemon Puzzle Challenge a Panel de Pon skin? Yes, I believe it is. Alright, this is the first time these little tubes are going to come in handy. We can actually bomb through and go into another area. And just start freezing and blowing these guys up. That's actually a very important strategy that'll come in handy later. Had to get up here, I have to use these stupid respawning blocks. So yeah, next on our list, Yoshio Sakamoto. He was our character designer and chief of the series going forward. From what I found, he was hired directly out of art school as a pixel artist. Back in the early Nintendo games or days, basically everybody handled multiple roles. So Gunpei Yokoi actually apparently told him, if you can make pixel art, you can make a game. So he helped with their early arcade titles like Donkey Kong. He was a director for some of the very, very early NES games, such as Wrecking Crew and Gumshoe. Wrecking Crew you might be familiar with, just based on Smash Brothers and possibly like some of the WarioWare minigames. It's like it's the first console game that Mario is in. Basically, you've got walls that you knock down, and I should probably just play that. I'm having a hard time describing it. Basically, you gotta kind of knock down all the walls in the level and make sure you don't accidentally box yourself in because you can't jump. Gumshoe is this weird zapper game. That's the light gun for the NES. You're this dude who's just slowly going from left to right, and you can actually shoot him to make him jump. You're kind of like trying to shoot all the obstacles and stuff out of his way. I will. Let's see. Okay, that's right. I gotta go down this passage. That's an astounding leap of logic, but okay, Yoko. I mean, he's not wrong. Like, Miyamoto, he was actually hired as an artist too, and now he's spent 20 years as a game designer. Did I miss that passage? In 1983, yeah. Very different days. Where you can honestly be expected to be able to do art and do music and know and actually know enough about how the dang systems work to be able to program them. On here? Nope. Okay, this is the passage I was thinking of. Yeah, this is all just missiles, but the more missiles we have, the better. Yeah, come on. Because if I've got a ton of missiles, I can just freeze these guys. Yeah, excuse me. Freeze these guys and then blow them up versus having to try to kill them with a pea shooter. Okay, now that's the end of the passage. we're gonna double back, and then I'm gonna show you guys something just really astoundingly stupid. Alright, let's drop down the shaft. Alright, this right here is the start of this big old vertical shaft we're in. Okay, hang on, I'll come back. I'm actually using a map because it's been long enough since I played this that I don't really have it memorized. See if I can farm some energy without getting myself killed. Yeah, if you hold the fire button, it'll actually eventually go on full auto. Yeah. But it takes a couple seconds to get started, so it's kind of useless. This is why everybody had a turbo controller back in the day. Yeah, these little pipes right here, enemies will spawn endlessly out of these, but only one of them can be on the screen at a time, so I can actually just stop these from spawning just by freezing these guys. I don't think I actually gained any energy there. That's annoying. Oh well, we'll be okay. Let's go through the wall again. Yeah, Ice Beam really coming in handy. Without another power-up, there's not really a way to get over to this area. Got one more. Yeah, I don't think I actually spelled these out, but each of those missiles that you pick up increases your maximum capacity by 5. Now we've got around 60, which is a lot easier. I'm sorry if I'm being a bit disjointed. It turns out that trying to ramble about game history and jump around and shoot things at the same time is actually kind of hard. No, come on, out of the lava. Nope. Dying is fun. Up to a point. Yeah, these guys will basically dive into the ground and then just scoot along it until you jump. You gotta kind of be careful and be positioned to actually jump over them. Okay, that passage leads to missiles. This passage is the one we came into. Okay, I'm where I think I am. Alright, chat. This little screen we're in right now is probably the most important room in the entire game. Would any of you like to guess why? Anybody? Bombable floor. Yes! This right here, like, we've actually seen all of Norfair. Without finding this floor that we can bomb through, we would be completely dead-ended. And unfortunately, this is basically just a horrible design. I've mentioned this some of other streams, but Aunt Kitty's first rule of exploration in a video game is to look for things that stand out. This right there, this does not stand out. Just by looking at it, there's absolutely no way to tell that this is a phenomenally important, like, mission-critical piece of video game architecture. Yeah, the almost solid column of bubbles stands out, but there's almost three of them on this tile set. Okay, yeah, you're right. If we duck through, you can see it actually touches the top and bottom, and that's the only one, but I think you'd have to be paying real close attention to the tiles. And I mean, this is all, that's true. Alright, there's a bit more logic than I thought, but yeah, unless it occurred to you to kind of bomb this, sort of noticeable but otherwise kind of indiscreet piece of floor, it would be impossible to progress any further in this game. Incidentally, I did not beat this when it came out. I honestly didn't finish it until, like, after Super Metroid 2 games later. And I did not find that myself. I actually found a map in Nintendo Power back when video game magazines were a thing, and that's how I know how to play this game. Right, here's our next upgrade, the high jump boots. This is more of a straight mobility thing. Makes it a lot easier to navigate our giant towers of poppable bubbles we're going to run into shortly. Alright, so this bottom room in the shaft, we could go this way if we wanted. It'll take us actually to Ridley's hideout. We don't want to go there quite yet. because there's still a ton of items that it's going to make getting around a heck of a lot easier. Okay, this should be the room we want. But I didn't get confused. Okay, nope, I'm looking at the map wrong. We're gonna have to detour back. Anyway, we are going to explore Norfair, get pretty much all the rest of the major upgrades in the game. We'll go fight Ridley. Ridley, you're actually supposed to fight second. Like, the incomplete map in the game manual actually labels it Hideout 2. But honestly, we're going to be in the same place, and it's going to be a little bit easier, so we'll go there first. Okay, so looping back to key staff on this game, the composer was a guy named Hirokazu Hip Tanaka. He wasn't actually once we get later in the video game history, we get lots of people who are actually composers, but at this point, like, basically anyone who does video game music is some sort of audio or electrical engineer. So that's actually what he went to school for. He has a degree in electrical engineering. When he was in college, he did lots of electronic music, which is what led him into video game music. Tanaka is... I guess he's kind of like one of the... I don't mean in a bad way, he's like one of the B-list Nintendo composers. He did the first couple of Metroid games, but he's gonna be replaced with another guy later on. He has done a bunch of really good soundtracks, though. He's actually responsible for Super Mario Land and Tetris. He did Dr. Mario. Lots of very hummable ditties. All of it covered in Smash Brothers at one time or another. I'm just gonna die. I'm gonna go back up to Brinstar and farm energy for a minute. It's easier up here. So yeah, Tanaka, still a very good composer. If you're familiar with kind of Nintendo's lesser properties, aside from Tetris, I unfortunately can't really think of anything that his that gets as much attention as Koji Kondo's stuff. He did the Nintendo series and the Zelda and most of Nintendo's really famous melodies. As far as the music for this game, well, Tanaka, as noted, has like a background in electronica, which is kind of his primary influence. He said he wanted this game to sound like a living creature, and he deliberately avoided using melodies in as much of the game's music as possible. Um, he said he tried to avoid melodies until like the very last track in the game, which I don't want to talk about too much yet. Just to kind of give it a weird sense of isolation. Yeah, and the Norfair theme, which is just kind of drums and silence, is a really good example of what he was going for. This is the theme that makes me think of Zelda, of course. Yeah, this right here, the Brinstar theme, is probably one of the most famous tracks in this series. There are multiple versions of it in Smash Brothers. This is very hummable. If he was trying to avoid giving this one a melody, I think he failed pretty big time. Yeah, some other interesting facts about Tanaka, just because I love game composers and I think he's underappreciated. He actually transferred over to the Pokemon side of things. He is currently the president of Creatures Inc., which is one of the companies that makes up the giant, insane conglomerate that is Pokemon. They do most of the spin-off games. They're the studio that did Hey You Pikachu and Pokemon Colosseum and that kind of stuff. Apparently he's most famous because he did all of the composing for the Japanese Pokemon anime. I need to actually dig into this soundtrack for that half of the series, because basically all the music was replaced for the American series. Yeah, see why I complained about having to farm energy? Come on, me. You can do this. Oh yeah, Famicom Disk System. See, I remembered, so... Oh, when the NES actually originally came out in Japan, it's called the Famicom. That's short for Family Computer. This was back in the days where, I think, stuff like the Commodore 64 and whatnot, well, those are actually computers, but a lot of consoles did the same thing. People mostly used them to play games, but they were billed as being educational. You could use them to do spreadsheets and whatnot. But for game consoles especially, that was mostly just a vector to get them in the house so people would play games. But yeah, the Atari 7800 had a keyboard attachment, and like you could use it to code BASIC. Family Computer, I think, also had a keyboard and like some productivity software. So over in Japan, this thing was called the Family Computer. Over here, it became the Nintendo Entertainment System. So if you're familiar with video game history at all, back in 1984, the entire video game market basically crashed, at least the console half of it. That was largely Atari's fault. General reasons for the crash is that they had absolutely no quality control on any of their games, so companies were just coming out with giant piles of shovelware. You would have just bins of terrible Atari games in front of department stores. Basically, for a while, everyone got sick of home consoles. The Atari sales completely cratered, and for a couple years, like, video game consoles in the United States were completely dead. So, Nintendo in '85, when they were starting to think of how to get this system into the hands of people around the globe, they decided, okay, this isn't going to be a video game console, this is going to be an entertainment system. It's going to be like a serious piece of technology. So, the original Famicom, if you haven't seen it, it's red and gold. It's got top-loading cartridges, it's got little slots for the game controllers on the side. It's very cute. Whereas the original NES is just this black brick. It was designed to look like an entertainment console. The games didn't come on cartridges, they were called game packs. When the NES first came out over here, they packaged it with Rob the Robot. If you're familiar with him, it's probably only from Smash Brothers, but basically it's this little robot thing. He was able to communicate with the NES via basically flashing patterns, and he only worked with like 2 games. Basically they involved just... He had little arms that opened and closed and could pick up these little discs and move them around. I'm gonna switch spots. This guy appears to decide just stop dropping energy. I don't want to do this one. Well, hopefully I'm good. Hopefully this will tide us over until I get another energy tank and actually get a better weapon. So yeah, NES came out here, packaged with Rob. So they could go, oh no, this isn't just one of those old game consoles, it's got this little robot. It's way better. Also came with, first packing game was Mario and Duck Hunt, so it came with the light gun. It's for other differentiation. One of the things we didn't get when all this happened, there was actually an add-on for the Famicom called the Famicom Disk System. Instead of using cartridges, it actually used floppy disks. The system was intended as kind of a gimmick, like, Nintendo President Hiroshi Yamauchi basically thought, okay, if we don't like shake things up massively every couple of years, come out with little hardware attachments and stuff, people are going to get bored. So yeah, the add-on was mostly a gimmick, but it did have a lot of really neat features, mostly just because of the floppies. At the time, floppies were much, much cheaper to manufacture. I mean, they were just discs, whereas cartridges had... I mean, they have actual circuit board and chips and stuff inside of them. There's a reason video games on Nintendo cartridges were like $60. That's in uninflated 1980s money. So floppies were much, much cheaper. You could fit a lot more space on, or yeah, data on them back in the game. Yeah. Sorry, I'm not good at words today. You could fit a lot more data, so this is when we started getting RPGs and bigger games. And then because they were rewritable, there's two cool things you could do with them. One, you didn't need a battery backup, you could just save your game on it. When this came out on the Famicom disk system, it actually did have saves. I want the top passage. And if you wanted to, you could actually just take the discs, erase them, and put new games on them. There's actually a kiosk kind of thing called the Famicom Disk Writer. Basically, you could take a blank floppy disk, take it to a department store, and the disc writers would basically have a selection of games on it. You could give your disc to an employee there, and they would, for a couple bucks, write a brand new game onto it for you. This actually makes, in Japan, this makes collecting FDS games really hard because you don't necessarily know what game is going to be on the disc. But yeah, this and the original Zelda originally came out on discs. Because they didn't want to port the add-on to the US, those were moved to cartridges instead for the US launch. There's FDS had Kick Icarus. It had a bunch of early detective games. After the first couple years, sales started to tail off really badly, so even in Japan, after technology started to catch up, they'd also just switch back to cartridges. The other cool thing the Famicom disk system had is it actually had an extra audio channel, which is a big deal when your console can only play 3 different audio tracks at the same time. It's not so bad in this one because it kind of compensated for it, but in a lot of NES games, whenever you're shooting or jumping or making sound effects, one of the audio channels will cut out. So with the disc system, you could either have richer and more complicated music, or you could just play your dang music without having to make as many compromises. Let's see. Okay, yeah, this is where I think it is. Okay, so we're actually going to go down to the floor here in order to find another upgrade. I don't know how you're supposed to figure out that the floor is fake right there other than through trial and error. Yeah, that was definitely a common problem back in the day, just games being really obtuse. Partially because video game is still a pretty new medium, and also partially by design. Like, a lot of really obtuse video games are that way on purpose, both because video games are really short. If you like this, if you know what you can do, what to do, you can clear it in a couple hours. And also because you're basically supposed to team up with your friends and trade secrets and collectively try to figure out how to get through the game. Honestly, that approach would probably go over a lot better now that we have the internet. The whole collaboration thing. But still, that design philosophy is kind of tedious. I'm glad we're not going back to it. Okay, so I'm going to backtrack. We're going to head right. And we're going to grab one of our last major upgrades, which will make things a lot easier. Let's see, what else do I want to talk about? Series influences. So there's two different kind of influences there. There's stuff that influence the way the game looks and the way the game plays. So... Okay, I'm gonna go down and then right. So yeah, weird little room with lava in the bottom. I believe it's deliberately very similar to the secret passage that got us the ice beam. So hopefully if you found that, you would reach this room and go, hey, this is weird. Yeah, bomb to the floor, lava is fake again, and incidentally this also leads us to a beam upgrade. Alright, you'll note that our weapon just completely changed. This right here is the wave beam. Wave beam and the ice beam are mutually exclusive. You can only have one at the other at any given time. If we were to go and pick up the ice beam again, it would replace this. The ice beam is more important for reasons we'll find out later, but right now this is an immense upgrade. You've got this wiggly sine wave pattern that Makes it easier to hit enemies in general. We can also now hit stupid things that are crawling on the floor. It also does a lot more damage. One thing to note that's not super important right now, the wave beam actually passes through objects. Remember when I was talking about how everything in this game is both a weapon and a tool? Well, this one isn't really, at least not yet. In later games, the wave beam will come back, and that whole passing through walls property is actually going to become incredibly important. Right now, it's just a big combat upgrade. Okay, so I'm going to head right. We're going to hit a dead end. But we'll get one of the last missile power-ups. Then after that, we're going to do a whole bunch of backtracking. We're going to grab another major power-up, an energy tank, and then we're going to be able to actually head out of Norfair and go fight Ridley. Speaking of Ridley, as far as art goes, the Metroid team says their major influence while creating this was actually the movie Alien. To the extent that our enemy Ridley is actually named after director Ridley Scott. So they were influenced both by the movie and by H.R. Giger, the artist. If you're familiar with him at all, his art is all kind of like mechanical body horror sort of stuff. I'm sure that's an incredibly unfair description, but I'm not really an artist. But the main thing they took from there is both they wanted ZBs to look otherworldly, which I think is pretty obvious in just the tile design. Like, we're jumping around on these floating bubbles. What are these? Are these mineral formations? Are these alive? Are they some sort of cells? I mean, I don't really know. Okay, this would take us down. We need to keep backtracking. I mean, even Brinstar, that's... I mean, that's supposed to be like a normal area, but it's made out of like sort of weird brick designs and tubes and sort of all sorts of strange elements. Also, because of Alien, they wanted the feel of the game to be very desolate and isolated. I mean, we started with that title screen on that sort of bleak space backdrop with the sort of haunting electronic music. You'll note that there aren't any NPCs of any sort in this game. I mean, and that's by design. Like, First Zelda came out around this time, as we noticed, and that has all sorts of NPCs, even if all they do is say really cryptic things. But yeah, our girl Samus is trapped in this strange, horrible alien world. Trying to fight an alien race by herself, and loads and loads of hostile wildlife. Yeah, these guys are way easier to kill now. Yeah, Metroid is actually kind of more overtly influenced by the whole Alien series in that each successive game, like, it kind of sort of takes plot points from each Alien movie. Like, Metroid 1 is based on Alien, Metroid 2 is Aliens, so far and so forth. It's not really stealing, like, it's not copying the plot outline. Like, we're never going to have the scene where Samus is kicking butt in a power loader. It just kind of, like, abstract plot points and whatnot, but there's definitely a mapping there. I don't want to get into spoilers, but I'll kind of point out where things match up as we get to each new game. Okay. Alright, the power-up we just picked up right here is the Screw Attack. What does this do? Well, you'll note that if Samus jumps just straight up, she just jumps normally. If you run forward and jump, she somersaults. You'll note that our somersault is now making a cool glowy effect on a noise. Well, 1 second, I'll show you what that does. Come on. Well, I guess I'll show you in a second. I need an enemy that's not on the ground. Yep, here we go, perfect. I jump into those guys, bam! Yeah, with the Screw Attack now, as long as Samus is somersaulting, she is a weapon. And now, basically any enemy in this game, if you can actually kill it with a beam, you can kill it in one hit with the Screw Attack. This is going to make our life very, very easier. And 1 second, I got too caught up in the Screw Attack. I actually need to backtrack. Okay, we can actually go down through this floor. But yeah, remember, 2 hours ago when Samus had this little stupid beam and 30 energy? Well, now she's basically unkillable. So with that in mind, let's talk about Metroid as a game. So, Metroid, as we've seen, is an exploration-based platformer. It's not the first exploration-based game. I think we can bump here. So, yeah, kind of chiefly on our list of games that came together to make Metroid what it is, you've got the old school adventure games. So, stuff like Zork, which is entirely text-based. You had Adventure on the Atari, which had a sprawling map you'd explore, and keys to collect, and dragons to fight and whatnot, but you were a little square. Around that time, on a bunch of different systems, there was a game called Montezuma's Revenge, which is one of the first times we take the concept of exploration and apply it to a platformer. That game plays... Fun fact, the original adventure is based on the real-life Mammoth Caves in Kentucky. Yeah, there's actually a whole bunch of adventure games that are based on caves. Adventure is... another one of the major adventure game predecessors is one called Colossal Cave Adventure. So I guess you could say that caves are like the original exploration-based video game. Yeah, Montezuma's Revenge is kind of an early exploration-based platformer. Basically, you're in this giant Mesoamerican pyramid, and you have to explore it. As you explore, you would find keys and stuff that you would need to progress. Another early one is Pitfall 2 on the Atari. And that, same theme once again, you're in a big old cave system and you have to collect gold bars and whatnot. That one's pretty neat. It actually only has a scoring system and no lives. If you die, you just get taken back to a checkpoint and lose some points. So you can keep playing as long as you want until you figure out the whole game, and then on successive playthroughs, you'll... the goal would be to find all of the treasures and complete the game without losing any points. Metroid was, of course, influenced by early platformers, Super Mario Brothers, of course, being chief among them. And then, slowly starting to get into the same kind of, like, exploration-based platformer as this one. You had games like Tower of Druaga. That's a arcade game from 1983. Basically, you're exploring a set of maze levels. You're a little knight with a sword. In each of the maze levels, there would actually be hidden power-ups and stuff to find. I haven't actually played that one. It's very infamous because there's power-ups and whatnot you need to find in order to progress, but there's also several ones that'll actually take away abilities that'll make you slower or weak or anything. So not only do you have to know which abilities to get and where to find them, you have to know which ones not to get, so you don't screw yourself over. very much it's going to take the combined effort of every kid on the playground to figure this out. And I noted early on that this game had permanent power-ups. It's not the first game to ever do that. I tried to trace that history back. It's kind of hard to do once you get far enough back. It's because there's so many games that are just sort of lost to time. But yeah, early games with permanent power-ups, you had Tower of Druaga, as I just mentioned. There was also Hydlide, which is basically the very first JRPG. And that you're just a little guy walking around an overhead scrolling map. It's really frustrating. The way you do damage is you have to basically run into enemies, but you also take damage at the same time. So basically you have to run into enemies for as long as possible until you're completely out of health, sit there forever and let your health regenerate. And so on and so forth. You got a Luby, yes. There's there's a Ruby you need to progress in the English version that's translated as a Luby. Highlight is actually very unfairly treated, because it came out like the original version was like on one of the computer platforms in Japan in like 1984, where it was the first primitive RPG. It didn't come out over here until 1989, which is after we got the first Dragon Quest and the first Final Fantasy. And as you might guess, it looks incredibly primitive compared to those guys, so it's often considered one of the worst video games of all time, which is horribly unfair. Wasn't it pre-Zelda? Yes. That would have been 2 years pre-Zelda. So Highlight absolutely would have been an influence on the original Zelda as well. Alright, so see this elevator with the big old creepy mouse? We are about to descend into Ridley's hideout. Things are about to get a little bit dicier. Alright, so this map is basically a big old loop. Basically gonna go around it counterclockwise, find Ridley when we're most of the way out, and then we're gonna do a whole bunch of backtracking. Yeah, remember all that time we spent running around Norfair trying to get power-ups? That was pretty much essential, because doing this place without the screw attack really, really sucks. Did all that work for one missile. Where's you, completionism? So yeah, Metroid was not the first exploration-based game, it wasn't the first platformer, it wasn't the first game with permanent power-ups, but it's the first game that's widely credited with taking all those things and combining it, and also coming up with the philosophy that all the things you pick up, they should be weapons, they should also be tools. Like I mentioned, Highlight, that has upgrades, but all the upgrades are either just like straight combat things, you'll get a new sword or whatnot, or they're just like keys. Like you need the Luby and that opens a door. But yeah, these two things, an exploration-based platformer where your upgrades serve multiple purposes, that idea was pervasive enough that not only is this entire series based around that core concept, but the original Metroid basically has an entire genre named after it. You ever heard of Metroidvania games? Well, this is where those came from. It's the famous search action. Yeah, this room was annoying because we have to bomb through a random spot on the floor to actually make progress. So yeah, this game is established basically an entire subgenre, but what the hell is a Metroidvania? I rambled about this when I was doing Axiom Verge, but it's definitely worth covering here. Sorry, oh hey, an energy tank, don't mind if I Yeah, there's a fake floor there. It's incredibly obnoxious. You can jump over it if you both know where it is and know exactly where it starts. It's honestly easier just to fall through and then go back up the other side. So yeah, the name Metroidvania is a portmanteau. It comes from both, yes, Metroid, but also the Castlevania series. Okay, gotta make sure I don't screw up and fall down here, because that would suck. Okay, we're good. We're gonna grab that energy tank coming from the other side. So yeah, any game that calls itself a Metroidvania is based around one of two specific titles, either Super Metroid or Castlevania Symphony of the Night. I will, of course, be playing the former in about 2 weeks, and at some point I definitely want to stream Symphony of the Night. Games that are modeled after Metroid are usually just straight action platformers. Most of the time heavily featuring shooting. Symphony of the Night is actually both a exploration-based game and an RPG. So in addition to upgrades and whatnot, you've got an actual inventory. You find new equipment, you kill things, you level up. Yeah, the actual term Metroidvania was popularized by game journalist Jeremy Parish of Retronaut fame. He claims that he didn't come up with the term. It actually just originally referred to the Castlevania games that are more like Symphony of the Night. Like, it's supposed to be a Castlevania that's like a Metroid, but it kind of became this genre label. And even if he didn't create the term, he definitely popularized it. The man owns Metroidvania.com, for goodness sake. Once I move this over to YouTube, I'll post a link, but he actually did a very good series on basically the early influences of Metroidvania genre. He covered basically all those games I mentioned before. Make sure I'm going the right way. Okay, so we're going to go through this passage, head up, and go left. So, if we're trying to actually define it, what the hell is a Metroidvania? So the best description I've heard is it is a 2D open-world game based around artful backtracking. The basic blueprint of a Metroidvania is that you have an... It's almost always a platformer, but doesn't have to be. You'll have a big open map. And progress to the game world it's not limited by gates or keys or NPCs telling you where to go. It'll be limited by design features. There'll be ledges you can't reach. There will be objects you can't destroy. There will be gates that you can't pass through. That kind of thing. So you'll explore the game world. You will gain new abilities and... much like this game, ideally anything you gain will be both a tool for exploration and a weapon, and also a key. Like, I think the most famous just stock Metroidvania abilities is double jumping. Which, you know, usually fills the normal purpose. Like, double jumping is incredibly useful. It makes you much more maneuverable. It's incredibly useful in combat, but in most Metroidvania games where you gain the ability to double jump, there's also going to be all sorts of little ledges and chests and whatnot, and stuff that you couldn't reach until you gained the ability, but now you suddenly can. So you've got an open world, you gain new abilities that let you explore, and then you use those new abilities, you backtrack, and you find new places to go. And that loop kind of repeats over and over again until you're done with the game. Yeah, one sec. Yeah, my throat's getting kind of scratchy. I don't know about you guys, but I'm post-pandemic. I'm not used to talking this much anymore. No, I don't think I'm getting sick. I think my voice is just starting to go out a little bit. I wanted that missile, but wouldn't give it to me. So yeah, I've tried to sort of define some rules on what is or isn't a Metroidvania. See if who I think it is in this room. All right, so this is our buddy Ridley. He's a little dragon guy. If you've seen him in Smash Brothers, he's a lot bigger and a lot different. Uh, so yeah, his design in this game is way different. This is one of the things I would say is kind of derived from Aliens. Like, if you look at his artwork in the manual, he's got like two mouths and he's got kind of a weird elongated head. Dragon Pteranodon, same kind of thing. Design is very different. He just stands up there and throws fireballs. I'm gonna show you how to cheese this fight. What you do, you jump down here, you get in the lava, and you just shoot up over and over again. And hopefully I will manage to do this before I run out of health. Okay, I think I've got the rhythm down. Yeah, those fireballs block your shot, and he does a lot of damage, and trying to fight him normally is not fun. Okay. And I'm... Oh boy, I died. Call me Wisconsin, but I love me some cheese, yeah. Alright, I'm gonna take the direct route back to his room, and... Now, let's backtrack and farm some health for a bit. Sorry about this, this game actually is kinda hard. Okay, so rules for a Metroidvania. Best as I can define it. A game is not a Metroidvania if it's a platformer, but the whole thing is split into discrete levels. Like original Mario, you start in level 1-1, you do that, you go on to level 1-2. If you can't go back, it's not a Metroidvania. So that disqualifies, ironically, all of the earlier Castlevania games. They were all linear. Oh, am I going to die in the lava? That also excludes games where you can technically go back to old levels, but like any upgrades you find, you're not allowed to use them. So that excludes, say, Celeste, where you get some ability upgrades, but if you go back to the very first level of the game, you have to do it with whatever you started with. Ugh. Dead Cells is a pretty good example of a modern Metroidvania. Yeah, absolutely. Dead Cells is a roguelike, which I don't want to define, but that one definitely counts because there's a couple of permanent upgrades you find that'll enable you to basically that game is a whole bunch of series of branching paths, and on successive playthroughs there's several upgrades you can get that will enable you to actually explore all the levels. So yeah, if you can't backtrack, it's not a Metroidvania. That excludes the original Castlevania games. The original Mega Mans are in that area where some of them you can backtrack, but you don't need to. Although there's actually a whole sub-series called Mega Man ZX, which are actual Metroidvanias. They've got the upgrades, they've got the big interconnected map. So rule number 2, it's not a Metroidvania if you're able to explore and you find things, but all of the things that you find are keys. So, for example, the original Doom has these big, sprawling levels, and you need items to progress, but they're all keys. This rule expressly disqualifies, say, the Resident Evil series, which are very explory, and you need all sorts of things, but you stick them indoors and then they're gone. Game also is not a Metroidvania if you explore, but the only thing you need to actually do so is your wits. So, like, most old adventure games don't count, even if there's items in them. Now, the majority of games that are built on this general chassis are almost all 2D platformers, but they don't have to be. If you want to see a example of a 3D Metroidvania, the Batman Arkham games count, particularly Arkham Asylum. The recent Jedi Fallen Order is absolutely a Metroidvania. A lot of people consider Dark Souls to count. Come on, drop more energy. Remember how annoying this used to be? I mean, it's still annoying, but at least we're not getting hit half the time. Yeah, from what I've played of Dark Souls, it didn't really seem to count to me. Like, you do a lot of backtracking and you unlock shortcuts and stuff, but mostly that's you unlock doors from the other side. A lot of people say they are. I'm not really going to argue with them. And of course, anytime you start talking about this kind of thing, someone will invariably go, okay, but what about Zelda? Isn't it a Metroidvania? It came out first. Aren't these Zeldavanias? Oh, am I going to screw up and lose all my health? Okay. Here's what we're going to do. We're already back here, so there's a couple of upgrades we didn't get because we could not get the high jump before. Or we couldn't get them because we didn't have the high jump. Bleh. Words. Yeah, so... yeah, as far as Zelda, if you want to call it a Metroidvania, go for it. It's close enough. I'm not going to stop you. I don't want to have a forum argument. My take is usually they twist the structure just enough that they don't quite count. Like, it's the whole dungeon thing that kind of disqualifies it. Like, Darksiders is a Zelda-like, definitely. Yeah, you get new items, but a lot of times you mostly either only use them in the dungeon, or you only use them in other dungeons. Like, you'll get stuff like the hookshot, but you don't always use it to backtrack and go explore a new path. A lot of the Zelda game, like, there's a stereotype that, like, for the newer Zeldas, you'll get an item, you use it to beat the dungeon, and then you never use it again. That's kind of a disqualifier. Also, a lot of them are definitely gated by, like, NPC stuff. Like, Ocarina of Time, you don't get into the Temple of Time because you found a way in there. You get in there because you've got the 3 widgets and now the door is open. It's not bad that they're not quite the same thing, just... I don't know, I feel like it doesn't count, but that's just me. Can I actually get up there? Nope, not without the ice beam. I'm not gonna bother. Okay, well I can go back up real quick and get that thing we missed at the very beginning. That should make things easier. If you want to play more Metroidvanias, well, first off, you can play any of the Metroid games. Basically, the only Metroid that doesn't count, ironically, is, and there's one of them, that would be the Metroid Prime Pinball. If anything, Breath of the Wild is closest, except it hands you all the tools you need at the beginning of the game. Yeah, that's why I would personally disqualify that one. Yeah, basically any Metroid, all of the newer Castlevania games after the PlayStation 1 era, so the Game Boy Advance and the DS titles in particular. For stuff outside of that series, indie game developers, they absolutely freaking love Metroidvanias. Like, prior to Braid and Super Meat Boy, like, the original indie darling is Cave Story, right? Created by one Japanese developer working for a couple of years. That is absolutely a Metroidvania. For other modern stuff, just to rattle off some of my stuff I've got on my list. Cave Story, there's the Guacamelee series, which is Metroidvania plus pretty satisfying melee combat. You got Axiom Verge 1 and 2, which are very direct Metroid homages. There's the SteamWorld Dig games, Ori and the Blind Forest, Shadow Complex, Blasphemous. I think the most famous indie Metroidvania at this point is Hollow Knight. Ironically, I think Hollow Knight is so popular that we've now come full circle. On the latest trailer for Metroid Dread, I saw a commenter say something like, "Oh, hey, it's just like Hollow Knight." Okay, so yeah, this room. That's kind of cringe, though. Yeah. Yeah, this room has a weird, stupid floor that you fall through. If we were able to get that guy to come up here, we would have been able to freeze him and then stand on him. But the game wants you to go get the high jump boots and come back. Maybe I should just farm this passage. Everyone in here is dying. Slick Bart. Okay, this is our last major upgrade. Our very, very actual last one, other than some more energy tanks and missiles. Alright, this, right, you know what, we changed color. This is the Varia suit. Varia being, I understand, a mistranslation of the word barrier. This makes us change color. It has a more dramatic effect on our missile mode for some reason. We turn pink for some reason. Right now, all this really does is decrease the amount of damage we take. Which is incredibly freaking useful, but not a tool. However, like the Wave Beam, when we get into the later games, the Varia suit is going to come back over and over again, and its role is going to be greatly expanded. I will talk about that when we get there, though. Okay, I'm just gonna cut back through. That should be much faster. In a surprisingly large number of contexts, it's really just wild guessing what Japanified word is supposed to be. Yeah. Although, in this case, I'm not sure if it was mistranslation or they just, like, looked at the word barrier and was like, no, Varia sounds cool. Much cooler, because it's retained the name through the entire rest of the series. It does sound badass, yeah. I mean, they could have intended Varia and saw that Varia was cooler. Yeah, it's hard to say. I don't know if anyone is on the record as to why they made that particular design decision. What I do know is it's going to be called the Varia suit for the entire rest of the series. So even if it was an unintentional transliteration, we're kind of stuck with it. Okay, I'm way less squishy now, thank goodness. Okay, I am going to run back through No Fair, and we're going to kick Ridley's ass this time. Yeah, if you want old Metroidvanias, I've got a couple to recommend. I mean, I can't really call anything specific to mind at the moment. There's a number of things that just became gibberish in English that can be parsed as actual words in Kana. And yeah, I know you would be the expert on that. I'm mostly just coming at this from a lore perspective. But old Metroidvanias, if you want to try one of that. The one I would absolutely recommend would be the Blaster Master series. First one was on the NES. There have been a series of remakes in the last couple of years, which, once we are done with Metroid, I will probably play next. It happens a lot, especially if they're altering a word or using anything involving B's or V's in words that end in R. Which, Barrier is both of those. That word never stood a chance. Yeah, other NES Metroidvanias, you can always just play the original Zelda. There's a weird little action platformer called Rygar that is worth taking a look at. That's one I'm familiar with but never played. And Amelia told me to play this on another stream, but another pretty cool title is Legacy of the Wizard, which is a big old maze where you're the playable characters are all actually like a family, and you have to take the different family members into the dungeon where they've got different abilities, and there's different items that are assigned to them. Don't forget to plug Dr. Sparkles. Yes! A lot of my basically knowledge about this area of video game history comes from a guy on YouTube called Dr. Sparkle. He hosts a video game series called Chrontendo. where he decided to play through every single Famicom/NES game in chronological order. He is on, I think, episode 55. He's been working on this series for a decade. And he usually covers about 15 games per episode. So yeah, he's played a couple hundred games at this point. He's made it up to 1990. Yeah. It's either early 1990 or the end of 1989 still. Okay, so I'm gonna go down one door, go left, go down again, go left, and then we'll be at Kraid. Or, not Kraid, Ridley. But yeah, he has played through hundreds of very old games, some of which are classics and still influential today, some of which are horrible. Oh, frick. I forgot, you can't cross through this way. Stupid map, you were supposed to remind me of that. Yeah, I can throw a link on Discord, but I'll absolutely include a link to one of his playlists when I throw this on YouTube. He is an absolutely good historical research just for bringing attention to lots of things no one plays before, but also he will very often dig into the context of what's going on with a particular game. Like when he covered the original Dragon Quest, he gave a little retrospective of what had happened so far with JRPGs. Which consisted of, you know, the early ones like Hide Light, but he also covered like the western half of that history. Which was great because, honestly, like, I've played a lot of old games, but my first computer was a Mac in the early 90s, so like, basically the whole history of computer games in the 80s is just, I wasn't there for that. No one has played as many old games as Doc Sparkle. Probably not. Although, if we, like, put them in a room and made them fight, LGR would probably put up a heck of a lot of resistance. But yeah, I used him as research for this stream when I was trying to go, okay, like, which other platformers in the NES in this general area also gave you the ability to scroll to the left? Parish could probably give him a run for his money, yeah. Although I think Parish tends to play things he likes. Aside from the Virtual Boy, I don't know if he's ever... well... Okay, that's a lie, because Jeremy Parish, in addition to the Retronauts podcast, which is about all sorts of old games, he's also got a series called NES Works, where he's also playing through every game chronologically, but he's doing one video per game. So he's giving each individual game a lot more attention. And he's also going to to, to the step of actually like tracking down the manual and box for every single game and taking uh, archival quality photos. I follow him on Twitter, and every so often he will ramble about some sort of like stupid Game Boy game that no one cares about and is of no importance to anyone, but they only made like 10 copies of it, so it's like several $100s on eBay. So yes, if you have a ton of money burning a hole in your pocket and you've already donated to like important charities, there's probably an old game that Parish needs you to track down for him so he can archive it. Okay guys, I'm gonna be right back again. Okay, I'm back. Okay, Nope, I would have to do another loop to get up there, it looks like. Or try to do a huge bomb jump chain. Okay guys, I'm probably going to get all the items in this game except for that one stupid missile up there because I don't want to take another trip through this entire area. But we at least saw it, so it counts, right? If you end up playing it and want to avenge me and collect that missile, what you would do is you would drop down through the fake floor by the energy tank. Instead of going left, you would go right and just follow that passage straight through until it dead ends. Man, this is great. See how we're not dying anymore? I don't remember exactly how much damage res the barrier suit gives you offhand. I think it's 50%, but it sure does seem like a lot more. While I'm thinking about it and we're backtracking, there's actually so many indie Metroidvanias that they've started combining genres. So if you want to play some weird cross-genre Metroidvanias, we mentioned Dead Cells. That is a Metroidvania plus a roguelike. That one, thoughts on Carrion as a Metroidvania? I'm pretty sure it counts. I haven't actually played that. I need to. That's one I'm gonna buy and probably play at some point. That's a yes based on what I know about it, but I can't give it my personal stamp of approval until I actually play it. So, Dead Cells is very Metroidvania. A roguelike that is 100% a Metroidvania would be a robot named Fight, which is basically exactly what you would get if you took Super Metroid and turned into a Metroidvania. Let's see. Nope, gotta keep going up. Everyone who thinks Carrion doesn't count seems to disagree based on it doesn't have a world map, which, in my opinion, is more bad game design than anything, yeah. As far as I'm concerned, like... the strict design of the map isn't super important as long as it's important that you're able to backtrack. Dang it. A definite criticism of this game is that all these tile sets look the same after a while. Yeah, that's a lot of the game. Just easy to get lost that people get mad. Oh, like, I think I misinterpreted you. Like, it doesn't have a map that you can pull up to tell where you went. I mean, if so, correct, yeah. Okay, that's not a disqualifier. You see this game, this doesn't have a map. Metroid 2, that doesn't have a map. We had to get to the third game before maps became a thing. Yes, in our day, we had to get the graph paper out and we had to draw our own dang map. These days take maps for granted. Yes, they do. Honestly, if my parents dug around in the closet, I imagine some of my dad's old maps from this era are still around. Anyways, I recommend Carrion, very satisfying. Yep. That is both on my Steam wishlist and my list of games I intend to play on stream at some point. I mean, there's two reasons I started streaming, and I'm probably not alone in this. Like, A, I just want to ramble about old video games because I'm good at that. And this is a way for me to take old games that people have never played and probably aren't really inclined to and show them to people. But also, like, just gaming is a solitary activity. It just kind of feels pointless these days. Gaming but social. Yeah, like, just playing through a game that no one else is playing with me and I can't talk about in the moment, it doesn't really work for me anymore. So yeah, the other reason I'm doing this is to just actually give me an incentive to play all the freaking games I've got sitting around but haven't had any reason to. Okay, remember back at the very beginning of the game, that little piece of floor where we could see a critter moving around down there and there were some blocks that looked very breakable but we couldn't get through it yet? That's where we're going. Remember when these guys were scary and I had to carefully sit and shoot them so they didn't kill us again? Those were the days, huh? Alright, so we're about to go into Kraid's hideout. Kraid's hideout is supposed to be hideout 1. Ridley's is hideout 2. You can tell because this one has one head and Ridley's has two heads. Ironically, I generally think they're easier to do in reverse order. I am going to shut up for a minute just so you guys can listen to the freaking amazing music. Yeah, when I was a kid, I actually didn't want to go into this area just because I thought this song was terrifying. Ah! And we fall, and we're good. Okay, wrong passage. We gotta go through the upper one. There we go. Kraid's Lair. Lots of lava. Lots and lots of secret passages. Game definitely expects you to figure out how this works at this point. I'm just doing some quick zigzagging, trying to pick everything up. Yeah, to kind of reinforce the idea that this is a supposed to be a fortified area. This whole area is just a big old huge maze. There's several dead ends. Got some fake lava there. There's actually this whole bunch of rooms in the upper right that loops together and doesn't go anywhere. So kind of some deliberate dead ending going on. Okay, I'm gonna grab a missile right here and then we're gonna go back, because it's actually a passage we missed. There we go. Oh, hey guys, it's Kraid. Gonna shoot him. Oh, that was easy. Oh wait, the music didn't change? That's weird. Yeah, for some reason there's actually a fake Kraid. The real one is a couple rooms down. There's probably a whole bunch of poor kids who found the fake Kraid, killed him, and then couldn't figure out why they couldn't advance. There we go. Well, hey, this room right here is sure ominous, right? Alright, here's the real Kraid. You want to cheese him? What you do, get the wave beam, go down the lava, you jump and you shoot him repeatedly. Honestly, these guys aren't really fun to fight normally, so I don't even feel slightly guilty about doing it. Alright, and he's down. The last obstacle to beating the game is done for. And there's also an energy tank hidden right here, if the game will let me pick it up. Come on. What the heck? Just a game. Why can't I get this? Me! Indeed. It's okay, we don't actually need it. We can actually only hold 6 energy tanks, even though there's 8 in the game. I'm not sure why they decided to do that, other than to make it so you didn't necessarily have to find all of them. Alright, but yeah, with that done, as soon as we get back up top, the bridge to Torian is going to be active, and we can finally get in there, kill Mother Brain, and deal with the Metroid threat. There's a couple of rooms in here that have these columns of regenerating blocks, which I have done my best to skip because they suck. Alright, and with that, we should have collected every single item in the game except for 3. There's that energy tank back there that we couldn't get because it decided it didn't want to. There's the one in the ceiling at the very beginning that I couldn't get without the ice beam, that I'm not going to bother with, but if you guys decide you want it, you know where it is. And then, of course, that missile we skipped because it was being dumb. So we've gotten all of the items except for the ones that decided to spite us. Ah, crap. I'm not sure I can get up here. Nope, gonna have to loop around this way. But yeah, between the tile set, notice how we've switched to samey bricks, and the very deliberately confusing layouts. At this point, I think this area is supposed to signify to us that this was created by an actual intelligent being, and their goal is to keep us out. Unfortunately for Kraid, obfuscation didn't help him because I've already played through this game like 10 times. Sorry, guy. Sick. Alright, well, I think I've covered almost everything there is to talk about this game, aside from telling you about all the critters, because all of them are actually listed in the manual. They get names and everything. So before we move into the final area, I just want to open it up. You guys got any questions? Or I guess maybe more importantly, anything you want me to go back over, since I've rambled about all sorts of things over the past 3 hours? Comprehensive. Yeah, well, I tried to be. I've basically got a whole script over here. Aside from wanting to do justice to a game series that I absolutely love, my goal, if I do any of this even remotely properly, is that hopefully in October, when the new game comes out, you guys will be just as invested in this universe as I am. Okay, so I said we were going to Turian, but we're not yet. I am going to double back. I am going to go jump down that secret shaft and pick up the ice beam again. Okay, this is the fake shaft. We're not going down there. Because it's not fun. And I'd probably spend several minutes trying to get out of it. Yeah, I just want to compare again, like, look how dang powerful we are. We take half as much damage, we can jump higher, and we turn into an invincible ball of death when we do so. We got this cool wavy beam, we've got 700 units of energy. We started out with 5 missiles, we've got 250 now. Incidentally, that's not all from upgrades. I believe this is tucked away in the manual, but when you beat both Kraid and Ridley, each time you actually get 75 more missiles. So had I not skipped that stupid one, we would have a maximum of 255 missiles. So yeah, you'll see I went back and got the Ice Beam. I've been watching this whole time going, man, this is really familiar, but I have no experience with games on this console at all. But my first Metroid was Zero Mission, which is the GBA remake of this. Yep, Zero Mission is an incredibly good game. We will be playing that in a couple weeks. And now that you have some additional context, as we are going through Zero Mission, I will be pointing out things that changed between that and the original game. Yeah, I made Amelia play Zero Mission once. I thought you did pretty decently considering you've never played one of these before. But yeah, Zero Mission is the remake on the GBA. It's going to be the second to last game we play. And when we do, hopefully everybody is going to have the context to see just how much this series has evolved. Honestly, this game right here, it's super important. It's also kind of hard and obtuse. And honestly, I don't blame a lot of people if they never want to play it. That's fine, that's what I'm here for. I think it's still playable. But yeah, you absolutely have my blessing if this looks like a pain if you decide to play Metroid games, to just skip this and play Zero Mission. It's the same thing, but a million times better. Alright, so we are almost up to the top. And yeah, I went and grabbed the Ice Beam. It is, for most purposes, much worse than the Wave Beam. However, we will soon see that having the Ice Beam, the Ice Beam is like the key that holds the fate of the universe right now. What the hell am I talking about? I'll explain in a minute. Alright, so here are these statues. They are now glowing. We shoot them and they activate, and there's now a bridge. Incidentally, you can get in here early. What you need to do basically is... This game is interesting in that you can actually cause enemies to go through the doors to other zones with you if you lure them in there. Basically, you can lure one of the flying things in here, get them down there, freeze it, jump on, and then bomb jump over to the other side. Alright, here we go to endgame. Alright, everybody see that? Well, I have cleverly exploited the AI. That right there is a Metroid. Now, I am going to teach you guys how to destroy Metroids. I want all of you had better be taking notes. There is going to be a quiz on this later, okay? So here's how you kill a Metroid. Get up on the same plane with us. Oop. Okay. It's latched onto me, I can get off with bombs. Okay, you freeze it, switch to missiles. Shoot it 3, 4, 5 times. Okay, got that? How to kill a Metroid? Freeze it, shoot it with 5 missiles. If you shoot it with missiles and it's not frozen, it won't work. And if you were foolish enough to come in here with the wave beam, you would be completely screwed. There would be no way to kill these. Yeah, I am avoiding letting them do it, but yeah, Metroids can't be killed by normal means. They are parasitic life forms. If they latch onto your head, they'll start draining energy. The only way to get them off is to use bombs. Yeah, and Metroids are supposed to be loosely inspired by aliens. Not really, like, super design-wise, but the whole parasitic nature is inspired, and then, like the whole tentacle mouth thing is supposed to be xenomorph-esque. Get off. Xenomorph, but jellyfish instead of penis, yeah. I think there's one more and then we're home free. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, I think we're okay, but you can actually run back and forth and farm these guys. The items they drop are worth a lot more missiles or energy than usual. Not less sexual, just differently. That's how I describe myself. Fair enough. Okay, we got one more room, and then we are gonna be all up in Mother Brain's grill. Alright, here we go. Okay, these things right here are Mother Brain's life support system. You're gonna have to shoot them with missiles repeatedly to destroy them. Trying to do a trick here real quick. Oh, that didn't work. Yeah, these annoying ring things, since you can only have a certain number of enemies on screen at a time, if you freeze these, you can get them to stop spawning and leave you the hell alone. I think we're okay, though. Yeah, these life support columns, you have to continually shoot them with missiles. If you let off for a second, they'll actually start regenerating. There's two more, I think. Yep, see? It's like I didn't touch it. I'm going to be very embarrassed if I die before we actually get there. Okay, there we go. There she is. Alright, to actually kill Mother Brain, basically we gotta punch a hole in her case with missiles, and then to shoot her until she goes down. I'm trying to be very careful, because if we fall in that lava on the left side, it's going to be a giant pain to get out. I've actually got knocked down there and died before. I get back out. Okay, I believe the columns don't respawn, so I hate to do it, but since I've only got one dang tank left, and I don't want to die down here, I'm going to go back and farm energy real quick. Mother Brain's like, hey, you can't do that. As far as backstory goes, the manga revealed that Mother Brain was basically a supercomputer created by the Chozo to manage the planet. She basically did the whole rogue AI thing and decided she was a superior species and that she was going to team up with the space pirates to take over the universe. In said manga, Mother Brain actually invites Samus to join her as one of the Chozo's chosen children. She does not do that, obviously. Sadly, she is not the first thing that the Chozo who have created that has turned out to be a very bad idea, but I will clarify that comment in a couple of games. I don't know if you guys knew this, but the greatest threat to galactic peace is actually flying SpaghettiOs. Come on, come over here. Respawn if I just come back in. Yes. There we go. That's much better. Okay, almost done. Sorry to undercut the dramatic tension, but we're so close. Oh, cool. Those guys were so close together, I was able to kill all of them with the same set of missiles. Did I get some missiles, please? No? Alright. Okay, yep. Stupid things didn't respond, so we just gotta get back through this stupid death gauntlet. Mother Brain would be tapping her foot and, like, pointing at her watch and said, "Oh wait, she doesn't have hands!" Come on, we're so close. Got her. And... oh shit, that spiteful bitch rigged the entire planet to blow. Here's another thing stolen from aliens. Every game has to end with something blowing up. You have to be very, very careful going up this shaft because of these stupid narrow ledges. You'll note I'm very deliberately shooting. That's to get me out of somersaulting, which is a little bit harder to control in the air. Alright, we did it! And time. Great, you've fulfilled your mission. It will revive peace in space, but it may be invaded by the other Metroid. Pray for a truce, peace in space. What? There's a girl in the robot suit. Alright, I took too long and got one of the crappy endings. In a very early example of fan service, the faster you get through this game, the less clothes Samus is wearing at the end. If we had got here in under an hour, she'd be wearing a bikini. 1 hour to 3 hours would be a leotard. 3 hours to 5 hours, she just takes her helmet off. 5 to 10 is just in the suit looking at you, and if you take more than 10 hours, she's actually crying. So we got ending 3, which isn't too bad considering we were playing tourist and I had to get all of the thingies. But yeah, that was supposed to be a big spoiler. As noted earlier, the manual and all promotional materials for this game refers to Samus with male pronouns. You'd get to the end of this game, she'd take her helmet, and you'd go, "Holy crap, there's a lady in there." So that was a big deal at the time. don't think Samus is the first female protagonist ever, but she is definitely the longest running. Most experienced. I'm not sure what term I'm looking for there. Anyway, that's the end. And... oh hey, game's restarting. Hey, we still got all our stuff. So, yeah, this game actually has New Game Plus. You start at the beginning with all of your stuff. Kraid and Ridley respawn. So you would still have to go through... you'd have to go down, kill both of them, but then you'd be able to make a straight shot to the end of the game. Alright, so we finished the game. I still have a couple more things to show you. For that, I need to kill myself, though. We truly have come full circle. Alright, so I've taken a screenshot, but that is our New Game Plus password. If you guys want to start at the beginning of this game with all the stuff, you can just punch that in. I want to show you a couple special passwords